I want to talk about something nobody is talking about. And by nobody, I mean literally everybody is talking about this and has been for as long as I've been doing this and for long before that. And that is the discussion of sleep apnea secondary to a mental health claim. So, sleep apnea. What is sleep apnea? Well, there are two types of sleep apnea. There's central sleep apnea and obstructive sleep apnea. And I'm not going to get into the details of the medicine, but the bottom line is that for one reason or another, as you're sleeping, you literally stop breathing, right? You choke for air, you gasp for air, you wake up. Snoring is a telltale sign, but just because you snore doesn't mean you have sleep apnea. And the way they measure, or the way the doctors determine if you have sleep apnea is by hooking you up to a machine and letting you sleep and determining how many times a night you wake up. And you may not even realize you're waking up or how many times a night you stop breathing. There's this idea out there that sleep apnea can be caused by PTSD or other mental health conditions. And that can be true. So a lot of veterans have taken to filing sleep apnea claims secondary to their mental health condition. It's not a secondary claim. If they've never filed for sleep apnea before, they file a new claim with a secondary theory of service connection. It's a new claim for sleep apnea, secondary to their mental health condition. Or if they've been denied sleep apnea before, it might be a supplemental claim, this time with a theory of service connection that is secondary to their mental health condition. I'm not going to get off track on that one too much, but the idea here is that your mental health condition, whether it be PTSD, obstructive sleep apnea, what have you, caused the sleep apnea itself, right? So PTSD caused sleep apnea. I don't want to get too far into the science because I am not a scientist. I am not here to tell you how one body system affects the other. It's not something I can do. I went to law school and not med school. But there are a lot of scientists out there who've been looking at this, and they've noticed that there are a lot of veterans coming home from the most recent series of wars where they have post-traumatic stress or anxiety, what have you, and now they've developed sleep apnea. The question is why? And there's a very high correlation between those two. But the problem is, and the VA will remind us of this, correlation does not equal causation. So it's not entirely clear why sleep apnea is being caused by PTSD. Is there some sort of central mechanism where your nightmares are causing you to stop breathing? I don't know. One of the more common things we see are weight gain. People stress eat. This is a fact, right? I mean, obviously people gain weight for all sorts of reasons, but when you have post-traumatic stress, you may be drinking more and you drink more alcohol. Alcohol is incredibly caloric. As anyone who's ever gone on a diet knows, the first thing you need to cut out is alcohol. You know, a single beer can be 200 calories, but you may just be stress eating sugar and salt. And these things can cause weight gain, and weight gain is a known causative factor for obstructive sleep apnea. Likewise, certain medications can cause sleep apnea or can contribute and worsen sleep apnea. It's not always a clear line of exactly how the sleep apnea developed. It really isn't. And sometimes the sleep apnea developed for reasons entirely different from the PTSD or anxiety. It might be a related factor, it might be a contributing factor, but there might be other respiratory conditions which may be presumptive under the PACT Act. Remember, sleep apnea is not a PACT Act claim, but there might be other respiratory conditions that contributed or worsened the sleep apnea. I've seen literature out there that shows that neck injuries can contribute or cause sleep apnea. I've also seen studies out there that show that if you have an orthopedic injury, the position you sleep in can also cause sleep apnea. Like if you have a back problem and you can only sleep on your back and not on your side, I think back sleeping is worse for sleep apnea. I might be getting the exact details wrong, but again, there are a lot of reasons why sleep apnea develops. So what is the takeaway from all this? If you go to va.gov and you submit a claim for sleep apnea secondary to your mental health condition, and you just know that you have mental health condition and sleep apnea, there's a very low chance the VA is actually going to grant that right off the bat. You might get lucky, you might get a good C&P examiner who connects the dots. But this is one of those things where it might make sense to do a little bit of research first. You might do a little bit of research and go to your own primary care provider and say, hey, doc, why do I have sleep apnea? The doctor might say, well, you could stand to lose a couple pounds and try to be as nice as possible. They don't want to call you fat, right? That'd be kind of rude. But they might say, it could be your weight, right? And you say, okay, well, I'm having a real hard time losing weight because I stress eat. I have a real hard time sticking to a diet. Or I have a real hard time working out. And again, working out's a lesser factor. It's really diet. As a friend of mine who's a bodybuilder used to say, abs are made in the kitchen. And another friend of mine used to say, you can't outrun a fork. But again, lack of activity, physical pain can cause a reduction in calorie expenditure, can also cause depression and stress eating. You take comfort in food. So again, you're looking at all these things, try to figure out in your own mind using literature that's out there, not lawyers' websites, by the way. Do not think that printing off a page from a lawyer's website is going to get you where you need to go. Looking for scholarly articles that draw a causation between whatever's going on with you and your sleep apnea, you're going to set yourself up for success. So the takeaway here is don't shoot from the hip on sleep apnea if that's what you're going for. If you're going for sleep apnea, try to do the research as to why your sleep apnea, not sleep apnea in general, but your sleep apnea was caused, and how it might be related to service, whether that's through direct connection by virtue of it started in service, or as a secondary connection by virtue of some other service-connected condition you have. With that said, I hope that helps. Hope that's informative, gives you some ideas as to what to think about. If you've been denied or underrated, or the effective date on your claim is wrong, don't wait on those decisions. You have 1 year to appeal a VA disability benefits decision before it becomes final, and you lose the best possible effective date. So again, if you have a decision that you want to appeal, don't wait. Reach out to a VSO, an accredited agent, or an attorney like myself. Just not a claims consultant, because they're not accredited, they don't know what they're doing, and they're getting sued left, right, and center because of it. Reach out to us, see what we can do to help. We'd be happy to take a look at it. In any event, take care until next time.